All right, then. Welcome to Off the Rails, hosted by Troli Train here at CrossFit Taylors. Took the week off last week, just some sickness and some fun things going on there. But we are
Yeah.
back this week and ready to kind of get back after it. But I'm going to let you lead from here
Okay.
and tell us what are we talking about today?
Let's chat about let's go with the what is CrossFit.
Okay.
Let's go there. So maybe I'll get to ask you some questions today,
Okay.
and then we'll see what your answers are.
Fair enough.
So with that, what is CrossFit, right? There's the L1 definition of CrossFit, right? That is constantly varied, high intensity functional fitness performed across broad time domains, and with different modalities, essentially. That's not exactly how it's worded in there,
Yeah.
but key points being functional fitness, high intensity, constantly varied, right? And we're switching it up. But I think like thinking about what is CrossFit, I guess before I get too deep, what like if you see or hear CrossFit, like someone's like, "Hey Nate, what's CrossFit? What is your idea or version of CrossFit?"
So this is probably not the correct answer and probably the wrong answer.
I
But
don't think there is a wrong
But
answer.
so when
That's
I
what I
think
think we're gonna
of
talk about today.
yeah, when I think of CrossFit, honestly, I go to the sport.
Okay.
That's just like I think I said previously. Like my introduction to CrossFit was the CrossFit Games. So when I think of CrossFit, I really think of it more, for better or worse, as a competition and a sport. Where I think the majority of people would say it's a fitness program that they're able to socialize, meet people, hang out, and build overall general health. But yeah, when I hear CrossFit, I go to like Rich Froning, I go to Frazier, I go to T Catron, all the names that were kind of back in the early 10s to I guess early 20s.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, for better or worse, that's where my head goes.
And I think a lot of people go there too, right? That might be the outside view of CrossFit,
Yeah.
right? Which is why we kind of started our 55 plus class, was to be like, hey, it doesn't have to be this thing that you see on TV, or if you Google CrossFit, like you're going to get the sport side of it. You're probably not going to get the older generation in here,
Yeah.
or the mix of things, right? But that being said too, like that's what your brain comes to, but like you come here and you work out, like, so do you only come here to train for sport?
So this is the other funny thing. I hate competing.
Yeah.
I do not want to sign up for CrossFit competitions. Like it's not my thing. But I do think I show up really to try and better myself physically. So before CrossFit, like I did the bodybuilding stuff, did that for a little bit, and it was fine. But it becomes so repetitive. Where I think kind of what you said with the L1 definition, that constantly varied. We kind of do the same things day in and day out, maybe the same
Right.
movements, but you do get that constantly varied of, okay, Monday's chest day, Wednesday's leg day, whatever. Like you're at least mixing it up. And the other nice thing is showing up and not having to program for yourself.
Fair.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of another thing. So I mean, do I show up to compete? Kind of. And would I want to be better at the sport? Yes, but I have no interest in competing.
Yeah. Fair. But that, I feel like, that being said, it doesn't mean that you're not showing up to work out hard. Like, even though you're not going to the CrossFit Games or you're not signing up for a competition,
Yeah.
like I feel like you can still get the sport side of things by just coming into a normal gym.
Yeah.
So I think that's another piece of kind of what we can talk about. So like if we go back to the L1 definition of like what is CrossFit, essentially it's a training methodology, right? And so it depends on your view of it, but the way it's taught is as a training methodology. Like this is a bunch of things that were put together, and like we're gonna now understand them and use them and change things up, because we want the body to not always be we want it to have to adapt, and not always be like, hey, I know I'm going for a mile run and all I do is go for a mile run, so I'm gonna get used to going for a mile run, and I'm probably not gonna get any better because I'm just gonna run a mile, right? And that's just one example. Versus like people that train in running, they do different track workouts and long distance and things so that their body isn't just doing one thing depending on what they're training for. But we're kind of training for everything. And just functional fitness part of that is moving your joints in a way that you would outside of a gym, right? Not an isometric curl, but like I might have to pick something up off the ground and put it on the counter. Like I'm not going to pick it up and like,
Yeah.
right? Not that necessarily a clean is also what you're going to do, but it's a little more fluid of movement. So you might be picking something up quickly to put it somewhere. So it's functional as like putting more of the body parts together, not isolating just one. So with that too, I do think that like when Greg Glassman started CrossFit, it was different than what it is today. In the not necessarily that the methodology is different, but like the way it's being done has adapted and changed, right? For the most part, there are people that still like to the T, like I'm training Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm taking Thursday off. I'm doing Friday, Saturday. I'm only doing a single modality on Mondays. I'm doing a couplet on Tuesdays, and then I'm probably doing some kind of triplet on Wednesdays. And then I'm going to take a rest day, and then I'm going to do another couplet, another triplet. But then on the following week, I'm going to have like 2 single modality things. And I'm probably saying a lot of words that people are like, huh? But like that is okay. But I think where the where things have changed. So kind of my question back to you earlier of like, but you come in here, and we don't do that necessarily like to the T of like what it was, right? Because we run a business.
Yeah.
And although if I programmed here or you programmed, because we both do programming, to the T CrossFit from the level 1, it might not be the most fun thing for people to do, and the business might not grow. Right? Like it has to be coached perfect to fill an hour, or some people have an hour 15 or an hour and a half class. Like a 5x5 back squat, like if that's all we programmed, man, I better be able to like put on a show, put people through really good warm-ups, like explain exactly why we're only doing 25 reps of something today, and like have them completely bought in on that.
Yeah.
Which I think some people could, but majority would probably not. Right. So I think CrossFit's adapting to, we want more people to do this thing, but people also want to get something for their money. And although they're maybe not training for the sport side of stuff, like I could convince somebody that wants to be the next level competition person, an RX or an intermediate, or maybe they want to be elite. Like, hey, you need to slow down and just have a strength day because you need to get stronger. Hey, you need to just have an endurance day because you need your endurance to get better. But like 80-90% of my members coming in, they're going to be like, that was garbage. Not that it was garbage, like but that wasn't fun, or it wasn't whatever. Like they're going to stop showing up to those days, like it's like they want the hour to be filled. So then it comes back to like, okay, so how do I still program CrossFit the way I see it and understand it, but for the majority of people to make sure that they feel like they're getting something, they're having fun, the hour is filled up. And I'm still touching the competitive person and the elite person that wants to get better, but I'm also still making it scalable and doable for the person. It's their first week and they're walking in and they want to have an hour of something, but they don't want to die. So it's like, I gotta be able to like touch both ends of that spectrum, from a class standpoint. Right. But like that's seen differently too between each gym. Right. So gym to gym to gym. So it's like, I think we're in this place where CrossFit is growing, or it's the methodology is expanding in an experimental way where we each have kind of our own flavor of it. And there maybe necessarily, like I said earlier, like your answer might not be wrong. Like it's probably not wrong. Some people see the sport of CrossFit and like that's what they want and that's what they're going for. And they could care less about the functional longevity health of it, right? Like I see people on TV, they're making money, and like, how do I do that, right? So I do think, and CrossFit's got some branches to it, and I think that you could easily have. CrossFit Crash, I would say, is probably one of the more competitive, and they have a bigger culture than just competing. But like, I feel like a majority of what they do, at least from the outside looking in, is towards the competitive athlete, right? And so it's like that's what their gym strives on, and that's what they're pulling for. And like I think if anyone moved to this area and we're here long enough and we're like, I want to be a really competitive
Yeah.
athlete and I'm willing to either drive there or move there, kind of like Cookeville with Mayhem.
Yeah.
Like if that was my end goal, like I'm gonna go to the games, like
Yeah.
I might as well move to Cookeville and
Mhm.
just see what they're doing there because like something's going right
Yeah.
and it seems to be a good community and whatnot. So you know, like I think it's these branches are branching off, but it's like kind of trying to figure out, okay, like what exactly is it? Because now we have we'll use High Rocks or
Mhm.
WFP and all these other things that are kind of breaking off of it. And it's like, it's still CrossFit.
Mhm.
It's just like they're calling it something, but it's really like well, I guess WFP is like a CrossFit Games company.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
It's from what I understand from it. They're just not using the name CrossFit, but like everyone knows like these guys are doing
Yeah.
CrossFit, right? That's like what the competition is functional fitness. But like High Rocks and essentially is like a 1 hour CrossFit class, but it's the same thing over and over.
Yeah.
So you can kind of train for it and try to get really good at that one thing, right?
Mhm.
Kind of like a benchmark test, which isn't necessarily a bad thing either, because then people get to do things and have fun and like
Yeah.
do these events, right? And so I think it goes back to like, okay, what do you see CrossFit as, right?
Yeah.
And then, okay, can we use the methodology to train for the part of CrossFit that we see it as, or that we want it to be
Yeah.
for ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Because the methodology doesn't change. Like if I was going to train for High Rocks, I still use the base methodology of constantly varied functional fitness, high intensity movements to train for High Rocks.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that to train for WFE. I'm going to do that to train for Mayhem,
Mhm.
our competition, right? So I think there's this. I kind of want to talk about this because I think right now in the space of fitness, people are getting drawn different ways and like, oh, we got to be this or we got to be that or I'm only going to follow this. And it's like, let's just rewind to like remembering that like CrossFit is a methodology, right? It was the first methodology to bring strength and powerlifting, aerobic capacity, running, swimming things, pieces of Olympic lifting, some gymnastics, and being like, hey, we should try to be good at all these things. And if we are, then I could go, I'm not going to win a High Rocks competition, but I could go do it.
Yeah.
Like I do triathlons. I don't train for triathlons all the time, but I just like to go do it occasionally. Like I could go to Olympic competition, Olympic lifting. Like I'm not going to win, but I at least know how to snatch and clean and jerk properly. You know, and I could go do a strongman competition probably with sandbags and yokes and things. And it's like, okay, I've touched some of those things. I know how to do those things, right? So I guess it depends on like, do you like a certain aspect of CrossFit, or do you like the fact that you can be good at a lot of things and just go and like keep your itch scratched because hey, I can, ooh, that looks kind of cool, I'm gonna go do that, but I'm not gonna dive all the way in because like I also kind of have this itch to do this thing, but I'm not gonna dive all the way into that because I also kind of have this itch to do this thing. But like, hey, if you want to be really good at that thing, maybe CrossFit's not the answer, because like you might have to train a little bit harder or a little more focused for winning that or like competitive. It depends on, I guess, how you're doing the event too, right? Like, are you trying to be the best Spartan racer out there, or are you like going to be like, I'm going to do a Spartan race in the elite division and I might not win, but at least I can come in the top 50 or something. I don't know, you know. So it's like, cool, I'm going to run and do some gymnastics, pulling, and a couple other things. Yeah, so I think just having a conversation about like what is CrossFit, and then like reminding ourselves, even as we program or as coaches, that like, okay, it's a methodology, and like I'm just trying to make people feel good, get fitter, and like then if they have a specific goal or aspect, I can help guide them towards that with their training, right?
Yeah.
But I do also think that there's like this hard wall that some people are trying to protect of like old CrossFit, like this is how it was done and this is how everyone got better, and like that's the only answer.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, maybe. But like also like it's changed, and I know a lot of people are doing more things, or kind of doing the split class, kind of like what we do, where we do a strength and then we do a metcon, and it's like people are still getting better. Like benchmarks are still going up, 1 reps are still going up. Like, so it doesn't have to be done that other way. Like it can be done this way. So it's like I think we're still doing CrossFit like appropriately, and at least in the view that I see it. But I'm also helping grow my gym and run a good gym, and like keeping people like wanting to come back because they get the full hour of stuff. But that being said, I also do think like if we are truly going to 1 rep max, which I think we do a pretty good job of, it was like 90% of the class is focused on that 1 rep max. And then we might do like, just to get people like to make sure like they didn't just squat today, like we're going to do a 3-minute bike sprint or something, you know, and like leave them on the floor. And it's like, cool, like you still got tired today. Like you lifted and then we did that afterwards, right? We're not going to do it before because we want you to get the lift in, but like, okay, we're going to try to leave 5-10 minutes maybe of class and still give you something to like get your heart rate up and feel like you did more than just one thing today. But still trying to like keep in our mind of like, okay, we do truly need time if we're going to 1 rep max to rest and actually attack these lifts and not try to fit a 1 rep max in a 15 or 20 minute window. Like it's probably not going to go well. Yeah, I don't know. I was having thoughts about it, and it's like part of it brought like that I started thinking about like again was like, okay, if I was going to go train for my level 4, like what would that look like? And in my head, it's like I would coach completely differently at a level 4 than what I would do in here on a daily basis. And I would have to, because they are looking for specific things, and they're probably like, if I showed up, it's at random gyms and you go, but like I know they're gonna have almost like old school CrossFit programming of like, hey, you were coaching today a 5x5 back squat for an hour. And like go, right? Or it's gonna be like, today's class is a 15-minute AMRAP, here's 3 movements, and you have the hour. And it's like, okay, like I'm gonna have to break these things down and warm these things up and teach some skill work stuff. But like that's not necessarily what I do every day in here, right? Because we program differently.
Yeah, so that brings kind of an interesting question then to my head is, so you go through, and I don't have an L2, L3, anything like that, but from what I've seen is like CrossFit, and especially with like the cap programming, things like that, is like, hey, we have our general warm up, then we have our specific warm up, then we're going to do some more warming up, and now we're going to do just one movement or just one workout. Where every other gym I've been to, even the ones I've dropped in at, is more like our setup, where you're going to have a quick whiteboard brief, you're going to do just a general warm up for a little bit of everything, then you're going to do a half and half of like a strength and a metcon, or metcon strength, whatever, vice versa. Why do you think CrossFit sometimes feels like the way they teach things is not real in like a CrossFit gym?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I have gone to seminars and I'm like, I understand what you're saying, but like this isn't going to apply in class. Most likely. I do think that, again, if you kind of take the old school mindset, there probably are some gyms that run the cap programming, and like that's how they do it, right? So I do think that they're trying to keep it as centered as possible and not let people get too stretched out. Because if they start training like, okay, you're probably doing this and this, like we know that's what you're doing, okay, now we're gonna let you do that, and then I think it just gets to the point where it would just start snowballing. Which it probably is snowballing right now. But like, I think the big thing is just trying to remind people that it's not just volume, right? Like we had an old coach, like when we first started, that was here, and he would just come in and do workouts, and just like, and he'd have a day off work and just do workouts, and then I'd come in and he'd be like, I did this and this and this, and I'm like, okay, well, like how long? Well, it took me like an hour. I'm like, it sounds like it should have taken you 15 minutes, but like, it was just like, he was just going to do more CrossFit. Like, it was just like CrossFit school. Like, I'm just going to do more. And it's like, at some point there's diminishing returns. Like you're just moving your body too much and you're not getting recovery in. And like so there's that balance of like, okay, if I need or I want to gain strength, like I'm going to have to do this certain thing to progress, right? So I think they teach it towards like, if your ultimate goal is to just get better overall, I think it's so, okay, I'm just thinking this through as we talk. I think people's view of CrossFit has changed, which is why the gym has changed. But so like, because of not the competitions are bad, because they do make you push. But I think there's way more competitions now than like when I started CrossFit in 2012, right? Like there might have been 1 or 2 a year, like a gym was willing to put on, and it was like, okay, I'm gonna train all year for that. And then I'm gonna go do that. Now there's one every other week, it feels like, within your area. And so I think this hybrid has kind of come in, because it's like, well, I'm going to compete again in a month or 2 months. So I kind of have all these things I need to get better at instead of like, I'm going to focus on getting stronger this year.
Yeah.
I'm going to focus on getting better at gymnastics this year. And then if we had that mindset, then it's like, okay, I can piece things out a little bit more because I'm more maintaining my cardio or my strength while I'm working on my gymnastics versus right now, or like the way we kind of train things for majority of people is like, hey, there's this local competition coming up, whether you're doing it scaled intermediate or RX, there's things you want to be better at or more prepared for. And it's like, I'm going to try to fit all that stuff in. And so I think just the view of CrossFit turning more towards the competitive side, not that we push people to compete, but like it's fun to train for something, right? And to fill that hour. And so I think
I do want to question
okay.
on this. So just kind of going back to how CrossFit's changed in South Carolina where we're at, it's like, to your point, there's a competition every weekend, it seems like. If you want to go here, like you sign up, you go do it.
Right.
Now, I do think it's kind of interesting everywhere else I've lived, like West Coast and Kentucky, like the first gym I went to, the guy was a regional athlete. That was the only competition, like where we were at. It's like, you're going to make regionals or there's no competition. Do you think for whatever reason, like this area is just a hotbed and it just feels like there's so much competition? Or do you think it has gotten to the point of like, we'll go to Montana, there's competitions there, California? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I definitely think it's a hotbed here.
Yeah.
I think even back when there were regionals or whatever, sectionals,
Whatever it was. Yeah.
I think Southeast was like one of the hardest divisions anyway. To regions to compete in, right? To show up for. And so I do think that we're kind of in this hotbed of like just competitive people. I mean, Greenville's a place to move to right now too, right? So like we get people that have, hey, I'm coming from California, I want to check out your gym, see if this is where I want to train, or Texas or wherever. And it's like, okay, cool. So more people are moving here, therefore more competitive people are probably going to move here. But then you have gyms like Crash that have now built in the last couple years even more of a following competitively. And then you have gyms like us that like we have some competitive people, so we go and do that. And then it's like, cool, like we should run a competition. Like, but I think because there's only so much space within some of these competitions or levels to it, that it's like, okay, there's other options for me to try to compete. And I do think as a business, if you're willing to take a weekend to do it and run it right, you can also make money. And if you see that, then it's like, okay, well, now let me try to pick the thing that everyone else isn't doing and let's run a competition. And then like each gym's trying to put their own twist on doing a competition that's not exactly like the other ones that have been done that year. So it probably was more of a chain reaction. Maybe. I don't know, but I can't, because like we used to have like Hudson Frick who was running Southern Moon CrossFit, I think. But now he's at not Simpsonville. Let's say Five Forks out there. I think he works there now. But anyway, like he was a regional athlete for a while, and like JR went to regionals, and then
I think he went to the games too,
and is now going back as masters. But like, you know, and I feel like there might have been like my friend Quan, like used to be at Clemson, and like he was trying to go there. So like I wasn't that into the competitive scene back then, but maybe it had always kind of been there because there were a couple people in the area, and then it just kind of slowly grew into like, hey, we're gonna do these competitions. But again, like I know Southeast has always been a really hard one, and so that probably just means the tides have raised. Like because the Southeast in general is a hard place, like everyone's kind of more competitive because like there's I'm sure maybe not Texas or Ohio, I don't know, but like I guarantee you, like if we go to Atlanta or Georgia, like there's probably like a lot of competitions happening. Like I feel like it's a pretty competitive area. I know like Raleigh, there's some gyms up there that put on competitions pretty regularly, and Charlotte. So it's like this area, I guess, is I don't know. But back to like the original question of like why do they make us train that way, or why do the certifications go that way? And I think it's more because like well, and you have to think too, like they took the L4 away for a while and it was only the L3. But I do think it's to help you grow and learn specific things that could help, or to be a different style of trainer. I don't know if that's coming out right. So like the level 1, let's break it down. The level 1 is like, here's some fundamental movements, and here's how to look at one person and see what's going on. And then like pick one thing to fix that person. And don't try to do more than that. Like that's your goal as a level 1 trainer. But a level 1 trainer's got to come in here and coach classes. So it's like you're not just gonna have one on like, hey Nate, I'm coaching you today. Like these other people, whatever.
They don't matter.
Like that's not how it is. You know, like people are showing up to CrossFit. So and then the level 2 is now I'm going to look at a group of people, 4, 6, 8 people from an angle
Mhm.
and try to watch people move and pick out the 1, 2, 3 people
Yeah.
that have the most egregious bad
Mhm.
movements. And I'm going to try to go cue them on something and then step back and watch them all do it again and then go back in and do that. Right. So you're going from like, okay, I have to like stay focused to learn the basics to like, now I'm going to look at a group of people.
Mhm.
And then now can I watch a group of people work out and go fluidly talk to people and not just like, hey, it's just me and you, so I get to stop you. Like, yeah, people are doing class. You don't necessarily want to stop them, but you want to be able to correct them
Mhm.
quickly, like short cue, like go, right? And then the L3, which I don't know, there used to be an L4 and then it came back, and now it was just an L3, and then but the L3 is like a test.
Mhm.
So there's not even like a course for it. It's just a study and go take it.
Yeah.
And it's more knowledge based on coaching, nutrition, programming, the legal side of CrossFit, like what can you use, what can you not use, how can you use it. And then there's like, I'm trying not to get into specifics because I'm not supposed to. But there's like health questions of like, if these people walked in and they had this heart rate and these things wrong with them, which one of them would be okay to train and which one wouldn't? Or like, like which one would you need to like send home? It's like probably the one that looks like they're dying, but like, like, but on paper you don't get to see them, right? So it's like understanding. Like the first time I took it, I came home and my wife's a chiropractor. For those that are watching this that don't know, and I looked at her and I was like, I think you had the better chance of passing that test than I did, because there's a lot of medical, and there's anatomy on there.
Yeah.
There's like, and they use anatomical terms.
Mm.
So it's not like lift your arm, or I don't know, like they use like femur and like yeah, like joint things and like scapula and like, okay, what's prone, what's like, I don't, there's just different things on there, right? I'm trying not to like use exact terms, but like there's like those kind of questions. So it's like, okay, we went from coaching a one-on-one situation and like seeing movement. Now we went to seeing a group move. Now we're going to actually understanding what's happening within the body, how it's moving, why it's moving that way, what muscles are we using. And then like, do you also know how to use that in order to program properly for specific reasons, right? And then now the L4 is like a practical, like you just go in and coach the class, and then like some people are like yes or no, and they don't even tell you why if it's a no. Like it's just like, so that's the part that I think is like why I would coach differently than what I do here, right? Is because it's like they are looking for by the book, old school CrossFit, like, did you break it down enough? Did you touch each person like with cues and like help them? And did you progress this? Did you do some progressions? Did you then warm this specifically up? Okay, was the environment good the whole time? Were you having fun? Like there's probably a checklist of stuff. I haven't seen it, but like, that they're looking for. And all of that without not necessarily messing up, because like everyone messes up, but like it's just like, okay, did you check all these boxes, right? Or did you just go read the whiteboard and go, hey, there you go, right? So I had a thought earlier and I was like, I'm gonna come back to it. And then, so the thing is that I think where the disconnect is that I think the way that they set up the training was to be able to train any type of class, no matter what kind of coach you are, whether it's a one-on-one, a small group, a big group, like you should be able to adapt to those things. I think where the big disconnect is a lot of people get their level 1 and like, now I can coach CrossFit. And they stop and they don't try to get any other training. It's like the level 1 was not ever meant to give you control of 20 people at a time. Like that's not there's not enough information in the level 1 for you to be good at that. Like you get better at that by practicing, but also by learning more and having somebody who you're going to go for 2 days in front of, and they're like going to pick you apart. And that's what the level 2 is like, you're going to coach people and they're going to tell you things, and they're going to ask you questions in front of people and be like, okay, why'd you do this? Okay, why, like, would this be better or would that be better? Like, would this angle be better? Would this cue have worked better? Like, not that your cue was wrong, but they challenge you and try to give you other ideas and other cues so that you can grow. They're not just like, great job, like you did good. Like the point is to grow, right? And then the level 3 challenges you even more mentally of like, okay, do you actually understand what you're coaching people on? Like, do you literally understand big picture, the small picture, like every single piece of it, right? And like when you know those things and you do those things, it makes coaching become way easier because you're more confident in the knowledge that you have. You're more confident in watching people move and giving them cues and having a broad variety of cues that you can use to try to get people to do what you're wanting them to do. And so all of that stacks up, right? And then the level 4 is like, cool, are you able to put all that together? Yeah, cool. So you've completed the CrossFit methodology, like you know how to coach it. Right. It's not just because, like, even if you take it back to school, like I know people that were really good test takers, but like that doesn't mean they can like go out in the world and like use that information, right? And I know people the opposite way. They're really good. Like there's probably someone that could take the level 4 and pass it, but not pass the level 3, the test side of it. But like they could go in there and coach the shit out of a class. And be really good at it, right? So it's kind of like, did you put it all together? And then like you got all these different certifications. So I think that's probably back to like your question of like, why do they train it a certain way? And it's because like you have to think about what they're trying to train you on, right? The level 1 seems weird, but if you think about the idea that like if this was for only a one-on-one situation, it's not weird anymore. But you can't take the level 1 and really apply it to a 12-person class. Like it's not going to work, right? And then the level 2 is like, okay, now I can apply it a little better, but I still need to do this and practice this and learn this a lot more. And then at that point, it's like, okay, are you going through the motions of coaching, or do you understand? Like, are you just repeating something you've heard before because you've heard a squat cue before? And you're just like, that person's not squatting right. I'm just gonna give them this cue. Or do you know that they're moving wrong in that way, that cue is going to help fix that thing that you're seeing, right? And so I think that's where the progression of it comes from. If I had to guess, I mean, that's how I see it. That's how I understand it. But like, again, I think if we just go back to like what is CrossFit and like how it's trained, it's like all those things are CrossFit. All those things matter, and all those things are like good, not wrong, right? There's the sports side of it, but I think it comes down to like, okay, what do you, and not necessarily, I'm not saying you, but like when people walk in this door, like I have to have a conversation and try to figure out what are they looking to get out of CrossFit. And then I need to coach them that way. And until they tell us or tell me or tell another coach or whatever, like, you know, I was here for health and wellness, but like, man, I'm kind of like seeing these competitions. I want to go try one. Okay, well, I'm going to probably start training you a little differently. Like, I'm going to start pushing you a little bit more because I know when you sign up for that thing, there's not an option that you can change. Like, you got to go follow those rules, right? And so I need you to make sure that you're hitting the standard. I need you to be able to do multiple sets, or I don't need you to. You need to be able to so that you have fun, right? Or like, hey, I really love coming in here, but I also want to sign up for this marathon. Okay, well, we're probably going to need to add in some more running because like we run, but we don't run like that.
No.
Like, so outside of here, I'm going to need you to do a couple days of running. Like take a day off of, don't come in on Wednesdays, instead go run a couple miles, right? Or so, I don't, you know what I mean? And then on the weekend, do another one. So it's like figuring out what people want out of CrossFit, realizing that we can help everybody. Literally CrossFit is for everybody, but like if as a athlete, a member, or even as a coach, like if you don't know why you're coaching that person, like you might be coaching them competitively and they're like, I don't care about the standard for doing whatever. Like I'm just here to sweat a little bit and go home. And it's like, okay. So like we don't want to turn people on, or like, oh, we want to turn people on, like we want to help them, but we don't want to turn people off for different reasons. Like if someone wants to be competitive and I'm over here breaking down the squat and having them spend 15 minutes doing it like beautifully perfect just to make sure that it's like sound, it's like they're not going to squat that way when they're trying to do 30 for time. Like, but I want to make it as good as I can and still get them to build volume and things like that. So it's like, okay, who am I coaching? How am I coaching them? And then like, okay, am I making sure that everyone's kind of getting what they want out of CrossFit? And so I think just, you know, that's why I started with the conversation of like, what is CrossFit? And it's like, yeah, there is there's a definition of it, but then like you have an idea of CrossFit. I have an idea of CrossFit. Whoever's watching this has their own idea of CrossFit, right? They have an idea before they walked in this gym and their idea of CrossFit probably maybe changed now, but you know, I get it all the time when people move to other states, or even if you go out of town and you drop into another gym, like your idea of CrossFit here, you walk into that gym and all of a sudden you're like, that's not like my gym. Like, what is this? You know what I mean? And you might get one that's close and it's just different people, but then you might get one that's like, things are just done completely different.
Yeah.
But like you're still gonna move and you're still gonna do CrossFit. It's just like that's how they coach it, right? So I think that with all the different things coming in and all the like the hype around some other events, it's like, okay, my main thing is like just try to remind people, or like I'm trying to remind people, like it's a methodology and you can use it to do a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like we've had some members like, are we going to be at High Rocks gym, or are we going to do a High Rocks event? And it's like, you should be able to do what you do in here and go like sign up for a High Rocks event and go do it. Like if that's what you want to do, go do it. You know, like, and they're like legit questions. And then there's some people that are like, are we going to be like, I don't want to do it. And it's like, no, we're not like, we're going to do CrossFit, but like, you don't have to do it. You know what I mean? So it's like, you just like keep in mind that like, you don't have to change, you know, like, I guess that's another big picture thing is like, if there's something you want to do just to try it, you don't have to change gyms or methodology or the way you're training. You can do the things you're doing. Like one of the ladies here is doing a DECA comp here soon, and she was like all worried about it. And she's like, I got to train these things. And I'm like, just show up to class. And like, I promise you, like, she's not trying to win.
Yeah.
I was like, but if you just show up regularly, like you have been, and you just like give yourself that little bit of push, you're going to be fine when you show up there. Like these aren't things that you haven't done. They're just like you're not training specifically for it as if you're trying to win it.
Yeah.
And so like, I guess that's the idea is like, and that's, I guess, why I chose to continue with CrossFit and why I liked it so much was like, I used to play basketball and like ultimate frisbee and other things when I was in college when I started. And I realized after like doing this for a couple of months, because originally, like I saw it on ESPN, I was like, those guys look shredded. I want to be like that. Right. I'm still not shredded, but I did realize I was getting gains from it because I would run to the ultimate playing field, play multiple games of ultimate frisbee, and then run home.
Yeah.
And before I started doing CrossFit, like I did not have that kind of endurance or that capability. And I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. And then I started being able to lift more weights. And I was like, well, this is kind of cool. Cause I remember I used to barely be able to deadlift this weight. And now I can like do that and get it to my shoulders. Like, you know, so like I started noticing things, and then it just progressed into like, okay, I kind of want to try this thing. Oh, cool. I was able to go do that. I kind of want to try this thing. Oh, cool. I was able to go do that. Like, and then it kind of dawned on me that like, okay, what this is making me good for a lot of things, which then I started getting into coaching and studying and all that other stuff. And then I was like, aha, it's all kind of coming together of like, this was what was happening to me. I just didn't really understand all of it in the beginning.
Yeah.
So, you know, the L1 for members that we talked about a while ago, I think would be good if we can just get this information like more dialed in and like just help explain to people of like, if you show up to a CrossFit gym and they are doing whatever their version of CrossFit is and it's safe, you're probably going to get better and be able to do any of the things that you want to do in life, really. Because I saw a meme yesterday that was like, when you're in the gym and like, this person's lifting more than me, they run faster than me, and like you feel bad, but then you like go out in life and you're like, I am a human specimen. Like I am so good at this. Like look at me compared to everyone else, right? So it's like just the fact that you're in a CrossFit gym doing CrossFit, like you're probably going to be fine and like way better than a lot of other people who like your neighbor wants to sign up for the same competition that you're signing up for, but they don't do CrossFit and they just think they're going to train on their own to figure it out. And like they could try that and then you do what you do and like not even specifically train for it. And I would put my bet on the CrossFit person that they're going to do all right. So I think we can kind of leave it at that. Maybe, I don't know, unless you have other ideas about kind of what is CrossFit or things to talk about or questions to ask. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of a good spot to leave it off. I mean, I guess ultimately it's like CrossFit's like making you better for life, not just sport specific. Like you said, you can go do High Rocks, you can go do DECA comp, you can go play ultimate frisbee better. Like if you come to a CrossFit gym, you're probably doing better than 80% of the people out there anyway. And like, it's going to translate to everyday life. You're not just going to be a good deadlifter. You're now going to be able to pick your kid up. You're going to be able to pick groceries up. You're able to do everything. So
I have a question for you that just came to mind. I don't know if you've heard this. You probably have. CrossFit is for sale or is currently being sold again. Maybe it's like kind of in the process.
Yeah.
So let's just say it doesn't go well, and CrossFit HQ ends up not being a thing.
Yep.
Are we still doing CrossFit?
I guess legally, I don't know, but to kind of, I know we're getting close and everything, but it's kind of like I was watching like the Froning podcast today, and it's like when you see wall balls and thrusters, you know it's CrossFit.
Fair, yeah.
Like, there's certain things where it's like, okay, are we doing CrossFit the name, like the trademark now? Probably not. But are we still
Yeah.
doing CrossFit? Like, yes.
Well, I guess and that's a good answer, but like if CrossFit goes under and bankrupts
Mhm.
and goes away, do you think that opens a door for everyone to say they're doing CrossFit? Because like now legally you have to pay CrossFit to use
Yeah.
the CrossFit trademark, but then there are businesses that do like XFit or
Yeah,
whatever fit and
45
like
or something like that.
you know, and it's like okay, now are they able to be like, hey, we do CrossFit and they're going to try to get more people in, or do you think it would be better for gyms to not do CrossFit because I don't, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's like, do you use the word or do you not? Because if there's no governing system of like, can you use CrossFit?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, do you understand the methodology of CrossFit? And you can say you do CrossFit, but like, are you doing CrossFit? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that really is like,
It's interesting.
for me, it's not really a question because like, I think we're going to be fine and I don't plan on changing anything we do, whether we use the name CrossFit or not.
Yeah.
Like, this is how I understand training and how I
Mhm.
want to make people better. But the idea of like, it becomes this terminology of like,
Yeah.
you know, almost like powerlifting. Like, okay, well, what is powerlifting?
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, okay, is there a specific thing that defines powerlifting, or like, do all these people do powerlifting and like
Yeah.
that they just say they do it?
Mhm.
So yeah,
It's a good question.
is it attached to the name and necessarily the business, or is it a methodology and or is it both? Right.
Yeah.
I think right now it is kind of both. Like you
Mhm.
need to have both. You don't need to. I guess you can run a gym doing CrossFit but not call it CrossFit, as long as
Yeah.
you're able to like get people to understand that like they're training in a way that I wonder if like, so say you've never, like a new member walks in here and like,
Mhm.
okay, I'm doing CrossFit because it says CrossFit, but they walk into one of those other gyms, like, do you think they ever figure out that they're doing CrossFit, or do you think they just think that they're doing
Like,
44 F44 training or something?
like, do you mean like a gym that like de-affiliated where it's like, we're not CrossFit?
No,
I'm trying
because
to
they
think
were
what they call, like,
CrossFit and then they weren't CrossFit, so they probably can be like, okay, this used to be a CrossFit gym, they're just not paying it. But
Yeah.
like, imagine like if there was just this gym, that was
like F45 or something like that.
yeah, and maybe that I'm assuming they use. I've never walked in one, but they probably use CrossFit methodology and they just
Mhm.
call it F45.
Yeah.
But like, do you think that a new person walking in there, like, I'm just gonna get into fitness, and my friend told me about F45, like, do you think they ever come to the realization that like this is the CrossFit methodology, or do you think that like they won't walk into a CrossFit gym because they think F45 is like better?
I think that. I think if I was completely new to fitness, whatever, and my friend's like, let's go to this gym, I had no idea. I would think like, oh, I'm not going to do CrossFit because this is better, even though it's CrossFit.
Even though they're doing
Yeah.
CrossFit. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
I never really had that thought until,
Yeah.
but I could see that. So it is kind of a name attached to a
Mhm.
methodology, but the methodology is there, and it's just like, again, your perspective of
Yeah.
it, because like that's their perspective of CrossFit. They don't even realize that they're doing.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Well, I guess that's your point too. If the business goes away, like you still have the methodology.
Yeah.
So I guess then it's just CrossFit free
Branding,
for
we're
everybody to
just
use.
selling
Yeah.
more of our brand
Yeah.
versus like
The CrossFit brand.
attaching CrossFit to it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Huh.
And hopefully,
Hopefully things go well.
yeah, hopefully, things
Hopefully we
go
don't
well.
get to this point.
And I think also, hopefully, like it's not going to matter. Like if you're a good gym, like it's not going to matter if it says CrossFit Taylor's or Taylor's Gym, whatever,
Fitness. Taylor's
functional
no-
fitness,
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
So
Taylor's
that's a good
fitness
question.
facility. Cool.
Yeah,
Good conversation.
Yeah.
Like it was different.
it was
liked it.
different. It got away kind of from the competitive stuff and kind of just an open
Yeah.
forum of like what CrossFit is.
Yeah, but it is competitive too, right? We
Mhm.
have the games, we have the
Mhm.
that helps people see it differently. But yeah,
Yeah.
cool. Hey, if you have more questions about things like this,
Yeah.
well, we'd love to talk about them. And I'm not good at closing, so I'm gonna let Nate do that.
Like Cam said, if you have any questions, definitely leave them in the comments. We do take a look and see what's there. I know Ronnie still has a couple that we need to touch on as well. But then go ahead, like, subscribe to the channel. We're going to be consistently posting. Just had a fluke week last week. But thank you all for watching from CrossFit Taylor's in Taylor, South Carolina. It's been Off the Rails, hosted by Troli Train.